White people have never been able to get women off. They colonized entire continents but couldn't find the clitoris. Built entire empires off stolen gold, stolen spices, stolen bodies. But the one treasure they never managed to locate? A woman's orgasm. These are the same people who named entire cities after queens that they never satisfied, who burned witches for knowing which herbs actually worked, while their own wives faked it for decades, to avoid getting accused of heresy and bad hygiene. The same people who called African spiritual dances degenerate, while dry humping in powdered wigs to harpsichords and pretending it was courtship. These are the people who gave us chastity belts, not because women were cheating, but because they knew no one wanted to sleep with their husband in the first place. Let's be clear, white people didn't invent romance. They invented repression. They didn't invent love. They bureaucratized marriage into an ownership contract. They didn't invent sex. They put a cross over it and called it sin. These are the people who got so confused by hips that they painted fig leaves over statues and banned books with female anatomy diagrams for being too tempting. Meanwhile, pre-colonial civilizations were writing entire poetic manuals about pleasure, harmony, and sacred touch. The Natya Sastra in India taught how rhythm, motion, and sensuality were all divine. The Taoists mapped energy flow through the body and knew how to rotate orgasms like breath cycles. The Igbo, the Yoruba, the Khmer, whole cultures that honored the body as a source of knowledge, not shame. And then Europeans showed up and said, "No thanks, we'll take missionary and call it the height of civilization." This is why they built cathedrals, but couldn't find intimacy. Why they charted stars, but never learned the constellations of a woman's pleasure. Why they sailed oceans for spice, but considered eye contact during sex improper. Because Europeans have never made love. They've only sought power. That's what happens when an entire continent is raised on guilt, cold meat, and conquest. So don't be surprised when their only kink is colonization. And don't be shocked when the same people who mapped Africa like a dissection chart still need Google Maps to find the G-spot. Freud built a whole psychological empire trying to explain hysteria, without ever admitting that half of Vienna's upper class just needed an orgasm. Kant was so afraid of